What happens when a circle of architects, destined to transform their field, comes together in an unconventional, wildly creative setting? It's the kind of moment that defines generations. And yet, it almost didn't happen. Flash back to Venice Beach, 1980. 7 architects, Frank Gehry, Tom Main, Eric Owen Moss, Coy Howard, Craig Hoggets, Robert Mangirian, and Frederick Fisher, stood on the sun-bleached sand, dressed with an offbeat flair more reminiscent of musicians than the staid professionals you'd expect. Photographer Ave Pildas captured them in a portrait that would become iconic, although at the time, it was just a quirky image for Interiors magazine. But here's where it gets controversial. The resulting photo didn't just document a group. It crystallized an era when Los Angeles was shaking off traditional shackles, defining a boundary-breaking approach in architecture that would put the city on the global map. These 7, united not by similarity, but a palpable spirit of rebellion and energy, marked the rise of a movement that challenged strict conventions. Each member flourished in their own way. Some took home top prizes like the Pritzker, others led influential schools, and all helped ignite LA's meteoric ascent as an epicenter of creative architecture. But how did this transformation truly unfold? And this is the part most people miss. The story isn't just about the buildings, but also about the messy, exhilarating conversations fueling them. Filmmaker Russell Brown, captivated by the rich complexities captured in that single photograph, produced a 12-part documentary series, Rebel Architects, From Venice to the World Stage. The series, hosted by architectural journalist Francis Anderton, reinvigorates the group's legacy, revealing stories that still resonate. For the show, 4 of the architects, Fisher, Main, Moss, and Hoggets, now seasoned veterans, reunited for a new photo and candid chat about those early years and the journey since. Coy Howard participated separately, while Gehry opted out, and Mangirian passed away in 2023. What makes these conversations so captivating isn't just the storytelling, but the chemistry. Brown chose to avoid formal interviews, instead assembling relaxed group discussions that let creative personalities bounce off each other naturally. At the heart of their legacy isn't just concrete and steel, Brown notes, it's the dynamic exchange of ideas and the freewheeling debates that push boundaries. Expect moments where old rivalries surface, jokes fly, and the architects even dissect their own iconic photo, shot by Pildas, up on a berm, with a backdrop of fading buildings dissolving into sand, reflecting on what it meant to build in a city, then seen as rough around the edges and culturally undervalued. But here's something that may surprise you. Those early days weren't polished or glamorous. Many worked out of garages and rundown warehouses, collaborating with equally audacious artists, luminaries like Larry Bell, James Turrell, Ed Ruscha, Fred Eversley, Robert Irwin, Robert Rauschenberg, and even Jean-Michel Basquiat, who hung his hat in Hoggets's building for a time. The Venice of the 70s was raw and open, filled with creative energy, unbridled ambition, and the freedom to experiment. Hoggets likens it to being marooned on a creative desert island. No audience, no rules, just pure exploration. Ave Pildas, who brought a unique blend of architecture and photography to the table, knew most of the group from earlier creative circles, including a high school history with Hoggets. The magic didn't spark instantly. Pildas lightened the mood with a shared joint, save for Hoggets, who declined, leading to a photo shoot that ended with genuine camaraderie. In one playful shot, Fisher was hugging Gehry's leg, proof that real creative connection often requires letting your guard down. The series doesn't shy away from nostalgia or deeper meaning. The once casual group photo now stands as a historical touchstone, debated for its continuing relevance. Moss succinctly asserts, whether it matters is decided by the years that followed. That's the kind of bold statement that sparks debate. So what do you think? Is the photograph still relevant to today's creative conversation? As the episodes unfold, viewers are treated to behind-the-scenes struggles, the tension of trying to stay original, the essential but often underappreciated role of critics and journalists, and the ongoing disconnect between bold creative talent and client expectations. Los Angeles itself emerges almost as a character, a city of shifting identity, perpetual reinvention, and, some argue, an unending supply of creative fuel. The tone is playful, never preachy, trading academic jargon for real talk and laughter. Francis Anderton admits, "I try to keep things approachable, making sure everyone can follow along, even those outside the architectural world. Competition, camaraderie, and vulnerability all surface." Did you know Maine's passion for teaching stems from a personal story? His father left when he was a child, turning the classroom into a place to fill that void. Fisher reveals that Gary inspired him to leave Cincinnati for LA, drawn by Gary's wild cardboard experiments. Moss reflects on the balancing act between visionary ideas and harsh practical realities, while Hodgetts keeps the group honest with sharp, sometimes uncomfortable critiques. These aren't just talking heads. They're people grappling with ambition, loss, and the joy of collective creativity. But can we ignore the elephant in the room? Gary's absence hovers over the reunion. Now, 96, Gary decided to sit out, but his impact on the group, and on American architecture as a whole, remains undeniable. Is it possible to separate Gary's legacy from the others, or does he always steal the spotlight? Main jokes, Frank takes up a lot of oxygen. Some might see that as admiration, others as a controversial centralization of credit. Don't be afraid to disagree. Does Gary overshadow the rest, or does each star shine brightly in their own right? One recurring theme is bittersweet, the loss of freedom that defined Venice decades ago. Where artists once thrived on cheap rents and neglected spaces, today's creative ambitions collide with high costs and restrictive rules. Fisher lamented, "The Venice we knew has vanished." But Moss countered, "Maybe it's just moved. Creative ferment could now be brewing anywhere ambition meets opportunity, maybe in places like Tehachapi, far from LA's expensive heart." Pildas, meanwhile, didn't just capture architects. His lens framed 6 decades of LA street life. Jazz clubs, outlandish characters, decaying movie palaces, and bohemian artistry. His story, featured in the recent documentary Ave's America, enriches our understanding of who gets remembered and why. After revisiting the recreated photo, Pildas muses about the future. Who's next to